and welcome to our incredible new Limud Amud Yomi with the Dirshu program, learning Pesachim. Please God, beginning this morning, Daf Beis Amud Aleph, the very beginning, the very first Amud of Mesechus Pesachim. And before we say anything else, we begin with the tefillah as recorded in the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Kuf Yud Siv Ches. Hanichlas the Beis Hamedrash Yipalel, a person that walks into the Beis Medrash. That's us, walking into the Beis Medrash together. Yispalel Shedaven. Yiratzon Fanecha Adinai Elohai Velohei Avosai Shelo Yira Devar Takale Al Yodi Velo Yekashel Bidvar Halacha V'Yismechu Bi Chaverai Velo Omer Al Tamei Tahor Velo Al Tahor Tamei Velo Al Mutar Aso Velo Al Aso Mutar Velo Yechashel Chaverai Bidvar Halacha V'Yismach Bahem Gal El Einai V'Avita Niflaos Mitarasacha. That end pasuk, Hashem should open our eyes, and we should be able to perceive, to be revealed to us, the incredible depth, profundity, and wonders of the Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's such a schus to be learning with you, to be beginning with you. Please God, this should be the beginning of many, many, many great beginnings. Hashem should help us that the Torah that we are learning this morning, and please God, for many, many mornings and many years to come, should be something that influences us as a kehillah, as a chevra, as friends, as a community, for our families, for our neshamas, for the entirety of Klal Yisrael, that this should be the first step in an amazing direction for ourselves, for our whole lives. And so let's get started. We are opening up Mesechus Pesachim, beginning at the very beginning of Mesechus Pesachim. It's important to point out that the name of Mesechus Pesachim is a little bit strange. The name Mesechus Pesachim means literally Pesachs. It's in the plural, which is interesting, because if you take a look at throughout all of Moed, you don't find that things, that the Yom Tovs are listed as plurals. You have Shabbos, not Mesechus Shabbosos. You have Mesechus Yoma, not Yomos or Yomim for Yom Kippur. You don't have Roshei Hashanah. You don't have Mesechus, well, you have a Mesechus Shavuos, but it's not talking about Shavuos. But you have a Mesechus Sukkos, but that's talking about the Sukkos themselves. What exactly is Mesechus Pesachim? It should be Mesechus Pesach. Mesechus Pesach, like you have Mesechus Yoma, like you have Mesechus Sukkah, like you have Mesechus Rosh Hashanah. Pesach is unique. It's called Pesachim. So the Meiri already points out that the beginning of Mesechus Pesachim is commentary to Mesechus Pesachim, that Pesachim was really two different Mesechtas. In the days of the Rishonim, the Gaonim, it was split at some point in time. Rabbi Yehuda Anasi designed the Mesechta to be two different collections, two different books, more or less, meaning one Mesechta, but with two sections. One section was all of the halachas of the Beis Hamikdash, all of the halachas that were related to the Korban Pesach. And there was another section, and those are from Prakim, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Ches, and Tes. And then Prakim Aleph through Daled, and then Perek Yud, all relate to Pesach as we celebrated today. All of the halachas of Chametz and Matzah and Leil HaSeder, all of that is the other Pesach. And when they would publish the Mesechtas, so most of the time people would only learn primarily the Pesach that was Halacha L'Maaseh, that related to them, and that was called Pesach Rishon. And the second half of the Mesechta was called Pesach Sheni, not talking about Pesach Sheni in the month of Iyar, but Pesach Sheni meaning a second Mesechus Pesachim, the second half of Mesechus Pesachim. Baruch Hashem, we will have the schus of learning all of Mesechus Pesachim together, both that which is Negeh, that which is related to where we are today, as well as what we are yearning for, what we are anticipating, what we are davening for, with Binyan Beis Hamikdash, B'mher B'menu, that we should be zochet to all of this. And our goal, please God, with the Amud Yomi program, is to finish all of this in time for Pesach. So this will be a monumental Pesach for all of us, having learned through all of Mesechus Pesachim Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. That is the introduction to the word Pesachim. Says the Mishnah at the beginning of Mesechus Pesachim, Or la'arba asar bodkim es hachametz la'ar haner. Or la'arba asar. That's a very strange phrase, and the Gemara is going to spend a lot of time this Amud and tomorrow's Amud discussing what exactly, and further, discussing what exactly the word Or la'arba asar means. La'arba asar means the 14th of the month of Nisan. But what exactly does the word Or mean? We know halacha l'maaseh what it means is as it gets dark, meaning darkness, nighttime, of the 14th of Nisan. That's where we have the obligation of bodkim es hachametz la'ar haner, that we have to search for the chametz la'ar haner with the light of a candle. It's important to point out that in this first line in the Mishnah, the word or is used seemingly in two totally different ways. One is talking about a time period, and one is talking about a candle, meaning physical light. One is a time, and one is a thing. La'or haner, to the light of a candle. And the Gemara is going to discuss what exactly the word or means at the beginning of the Mishnah. This, of course, is the mitzvah that we are familiar with, the mitzvah of bidikas chametz. It's an interesting question that the Rishonim already deal with, the machlokes between Rashi and Tosfos at the beginning of this Amud. What exactly is the purpose of this thing called bidikas chametz? Because the Torah does not tell us anywhere in all of the Chamish Torah that there is an obligation of searching for chametz. The Torah does tell us, however, that there is a mitzvah of not eating chametz, and the Torah also tells us that there is a mitzvah of not owning chametz. And to that end, Rashi tells us that the reason that we are bodkim es hachametz le'or haner is so that you are not going to violate the prohibitions of bal yira, bal yimatze, making sure that you don't violate the prohibitions of owning chametz on Pesach. You're searching for chametz so that you don't end up owning the chametz. Tosfos at the top of the Amud discusses, hold up a second, what do you mean? We are bodik as hachametz le'or haner in order to ensure that you are not going to violate the prohibition of bal yira, bal yimatze, of owning chametz. Says the Tosfos, I don't understand, kashlari. This is very difficult, according to the Ri. Kevan de tzarech bitul. The Gemara is also going to tell us later in Tavav and Beis that not only do you need to do bedika, and then, as we know, the next day you are going to do beer, but before that you are also, and after that, you're also going to do bittul chametz. You're going to nullify the chametz. What's the purpose of nullifying the chametz? You nullify the chametz so that you make sure that you don't own it. So if you're not going to own it, so then what do you need to check it to make sure that you don't end up owning it? Bittul would suffice for that. Says the Tosfos, yeah, I'll tell you exactly what we're doing here. Nir l'ri, according to the Ri, da'af al gav d'sagi b'bittul ba'alma, even though bittul is enough, hechmir chacham livdoi chametz v'levaroi, the Chachamim insisted that we are going to look for the chametz and we are going to burn the chametz. Why? So that you don't end up eating the chametz. Why? You're going to be wandering around your house in the middle of Pesach. You're going to see some, whatever it is, some Cheerios, a Chewy bar, whatever it is. Somebody's going to be, I'm hungry, I'm going to have a snack. He's going to pick it up, he's going to eat it. You did bittul. Sure, you did bittul. You don't own it anymore. But it's sitting in your house the same way that it is always sitting in the house, says the Tosfos. And the reason that the Chachamim were much more machmir when it comes to the prohibition of chametz on Pesach, to insist that you are searching for it and that you are going to burn it, is because, as opposed to chaza, which if you would see a piece of pork, bacon, whatever it is, in your house, you would, chas v'shalom, you would never come close to it. Chametz is something that we eat all the time, and we're supposed to eat all the time. There's nothing wrong with eating it. It is heter gomer the rest of the year. You are entirely permitted to eat it all the other 51 weeks out of the year. It's just this 1 week of Pesach that we are not allowed to eat it, and therefore people are not super familiar in their minds with the fact that, it's Pesach, I cannot eat it. So we look for the chametz, we burn the chametz, and then we also do bittul, and please God, when we get to Tavav, we're going to discuss exactly, why do you have to do bittul then? We'll get to all of these details as well. Nevertheless, that's the machlokes Rashi Tosfos. It is to suffice one or perhaps both of the prohibitions, either owning chametz for Rashi or eating chametz according to Tosfos. How much do you need to be looking for the chametz? So this is a question that we get halacha l'maaseh every single year. Says the Mishnah, Kol makom she'ein machnisim bo chametz ein tzarich bedika. Any place that you do not normatively put chametz into does not need to be searched for chametz. This is an important thing that we need to be aware of. You don't need to look for chametz in places that you don't usually put chametz. Says the Mishnah, continuing, Uva ma amru, and where did they say this is something that predates the writing down of this Mishnah? There's an ancient tradition that predates the Mishnah that there is an obligation of how far did the Chachamim insist that you are going to check for the chametz. Uva ma amru shtei shuris b'martev, that you have to look for the two shelves, the two rows of the cellar, the two rows of the wine cellar, effectively. Makom shemachnisim chametz, in places that you normatively put chametz, a cellar that you would put chametz. How much do you have to search for? Shtei shuris b'martev, that's the shear, that's the amount that the Mishnah is telling us. So this we have a machlokes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai says, Shtei shuris al pnei kol hamartev. You have to look at the two rows that go all the way along the martev. And Beis Hillel is going to tell us, no, Shtei ha'ashuras ha'chitzonis shehem ha'elyonis. You are only obligated to search the two outermost rows, not the two rows that go all the way along the cellar, only the two outer topmost rows. And the Gemara is going to discuss exactly what that means a little bit later in the parak. We're going to get to what the specifics are of that machlokas, but keep in mind for the moment, there's machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. How much of the cellar would one need to search, meaning how much of a search is obligated by B'dikas Chametz. But before we can get to any of those details, the Gemara is going to discuss what exactly it means in the Mishnah when we say Or la'arba asar. And what we are going to see is that the word Or has two possibilities. It says the Gemara as follows, My Or, what exactly does the word Or mean? Now obviously in modern Hebrew and in biblical Hebrew, the word Or means light. But that is talking about Or, light, as a noun, meaning the thing called light, photons, energy, however you want to define it in terms of physics. That's what normatively we mean when we refer to as Or. But when we refer to a time period as Or, what does the time period of Or mean? What does that tell us? Says Rav Huna as follows. Rav Huna Amar Nagi. The word Or means Nagi. What exactly is Nagi? That means light. Rav Yehuda Amar Lele. No, it means nighttime. Nighttime. That's machlokas. Rav Huna says it means light. Rav Yehuda Amar Lele. Says the Gemara, Kasalka daitech devan da'amar Nagi Nagi mamish. Does that mean, according to the one that says it means light, that this literally means by the light of day, meaning you wake up in the morning on the 14th of Nisan, and you do b'dikas chametz, lele mamish, and the one that says nighttime means mamish nighttime, is that the machlokas? Is there such a machlokas in the understanding of the Mishnah? That one Amora says, no, literally, wake up in the morning of the 14th and search for chametz, and one says, literally, by the nighttime of the 14th, that's when you're searching for chametz. We are now going to have a series of disputes that the Gemara is going to suggest, back and forth, what exactly the word Or means, trying to prove when is this b'dikas chametz, the schiv that the Chachamim insisted on, when is this mitzvah? Says the Gemara as follows. Meisive, we have an objection. Objection number one. Coming from a pasuk in Bereshis, in the 44th parak, Haboker Or va'anashim shulchu. Haboker Or, the morning, was light, or by morning light. Va'anashim shulchu, and the people were sent off. This is in the story of Yosef and his brothers. After they had hidden the cup in the sack of Binyamin, they sent them off, and says the Torah, Haboker Or, the morning light, or by morning light, or the morning was light. Va'anashim shulchu, and the people were sent off. Says the Gemara, Alma, this implies Or imamu. There seems to be a dead giveaway that the word Or means day. Why? Haboker Or, because the boker was Or. That's the definition. Boker is Or. Says the Gemara, no, hold up. Mi kasiv ha'or boker. Does it really say ha'or boker? That the light was morning? No. Haboker or kasiv. It says the morning became light. Meaning that in this pasuk, the word Or is talking about physical light. It's not talking about a time period. We know what it means when it means physical light. That's already well established. The question is, what does it mean when it's talking about a time period? Says the Gemara, no. This doesn't tell us about the time period called Or. It just tells us that in the morning there is something called Or, meaning light. We know that already. It says the Gemara, Commander Amar, Tzafra Nahar. Who does this go in accordance like? This goes in accordance like the opinion that says Tzafra, that morning is Nahar, is light. V'chiderav Yehuda Amarav, and this is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Amarav. The Amar of Yehuda Amarav, la'olam yichanis adam b'chitayv. A person should always enter a city b'chitayv, v'yetze b'chitayv, and should leave a city b'chitayv. What exactly is chitayv? Chitayv means when it is illuminated, meaning when it is light. Says the Gemara, the pasuk is only simply telling us haboker or that there was light in the morning. Once the morning was light, people left. That's all that we have learned. And this is in accordance with the principle of Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav, that one should always make sure to enter a city and leave a city in the daytime. There is an interesting discussion between Rashi and Tosfos as to what exactly this the purpose of such a din is. Rashi's approach is that it ensures, firstly, safety and ensures that your reputation is intact. People that sneak in and out of cities at night are in trouble, firstly, of hurting themselves, and or that you might end up with a reputation. Hold up a second, I saw these people sneaking in. And to that end, it would seem to be that is after Netzachama, after sunrise. According to Tosfos, the purpose of this is to make sure that you are not hurt by the mazikim, by spiritual damaging forces. And to that end, says the Tosfos, that as soon as it is no longer nighttime, that is when you can enter and exit a city without being concerned for this. Nevertheless, this pasuk has not told us any information about the period of time called Ur. Says the Gemara further, Meisive, we object furthermore. Ucha meaning object to the discussion that we had, where we are trying to define what the nature of the word or is. Cha'or boker yizrach shemesh. Cha'or boker yizrach shemesh literally translates the pasuk in Shmuel, and as the light, the or of the morning, yizrach shemesh, when the sun rises, says the Gemara, Alma, this implies or imamu. Once again, that or means daytime. Or means daytime. Cha'or boker. Says the Gemara, mikasiv or boker. Does the pasuk say or boker, that light is the morning? No. Uche or boker, like the light of the morning. It is a simile, or a metaphor saying like the light of the morning. We know what light is. We still have not established that or means the period of time called boker. It is simply saying that like the light of the morning, etc. And in the same way that light is boker, is morning in this world, so too will be the sun for the tzaddikim in the world to come. Meaning, as brightly as the sun shines in this world, as much illumination as the sun shines, that will be what the tzaddikim enjoy in the future, like the pasuk in Yeshayahu teaches us. So far, Or has not told us anything about any time periods. Meisive, a third objection. Vayikra Elokim la'or yom. This one seems to be a slam dunk. Vayikra Elokim la'or yom. At the beginning of Ma'aser Bereshis, Hashem refers to Or as Yom. That should be a slam dunk dead giveaway, says the Gemara. Al ma'or yimamu. Seems to be that Or, the period of time called Or, is Yimama, is daytime. No, hachikam. This is what we mean. Lemeiruva karuya. No, Hashem said, as it becomes light. As it becomes light, meaning before it is light, it's already called Yom. Meaning the word Or does not tell us that it is daytime. It tells us before it is daytime, it is called Yom. In that case, Or might even mean before it is daytime. But if that would be true, what about the continuation of the pasuk? That would be fundamentally inconsistent. Well, Hashem refers to choshech, darkness, as laila, as nighttime. Really? Hashem refers to the increasing darkening as laila. It's laila while it is still light outside, but it is getting dark? No, that's impossible. But we know that the halacha is that until the stars come out, it is still called Yemama. It's an interesting discussion, because between Shkiyas Hacham, between the setting of the sun, and Tzesek Kachavim, and the stars coming out, that's what we call Safek Yom, Safek Laila. It might be nighttime, it might be daytime, but at the very least, and this is important to understand, it is certainly, at least potentially, Imama, it's definitely not Vadei Laila. It's for sure not definitely nighttime. So, since the pasuk cannot be read inconsistently, we have to conclude that this suggestion of rejecting the rejection has now fallen flat. Vayikra Elokim la'or yom, that Hashem calls Or Yom, the period of time called Or Yom, that seems to now tell us that Or means daytime, which would mean that B'dikas Chametz would be during the day. Says the Gemara, no. Rather, we're saying like this. Hashem commanded the light, called the light, upakdei, and commanded it, amitzvasa de yimama, that its work is done during the daytime. Meaning, light is a thing. It's a object. And Hashem said, you operate during the period of time called Yamama, during daytime. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu summoned, called that thing called darkness, upagdei amitzvasa de leila, and said, you are going to operate, you are going to be in charge of the nighttime. Or and Choshech in this pasuk is, says the Gemara, is neither of them are talking about periods of time. They're talking about the thing called light and the thing called darkness. It is worth pointing out here, as some of the Pesachim and the Rishonim Acharonim discuss. This is an interesting question for the physicists and the philosophers. It seems to be that the Gemara is implying that Choshech is a thing. It is not simply the absence of light. It is a thing in and of itself, and that is something for further discussion in Ian. Nevertheless, says the Gemara, Meisive, we object. Says the pasuk, Hallelu kol kachvei or. Hashem is praised, Hallelu kol kachvei or. Hashem is praised by all of the stars of light. What exactly are these stars of light? Alma or urta hu. It sounds like or here means nighttime. For the first time, we are suggesting that the word or literally means nighttime as a period of time. Halu kol kachvei or, all of the kachavim of or. What are kachavim of or? Says the Gemara, no. Halu kol kachavim meirim. No, it doesn't mean the stars of night. It means the stars that illuminate. Or here is simply referring to the stars that provide light. Ata says the Gemara, what? The stars that provide light. Those ones are the ones praising Hashem, but those that are not illuminating, that don't provide light, they don't praise Hashem. But the pasuk also tells us that Hashem is praised by all of the legions, all of the hosts, everything that's up in Shemaim, everything in the universe is praising Hashem. So you cannot say that it's only the Kachvei Or that are praising Hashem. So maybe what this means is Kachvei Or means the stars of the night. Ella ha kamashmalan. What this means is the Or the Kachavim nami Arhu. No. What the pasuk is telling us is that the light of the stars is also called light. What do you mean the light of the stars is called light? Of course it's called light. What benefit does it provide for us, for the pasuk to tell us that that there is something called light of the stars, not a time period, but that there is something called the light of the stars? It says the Gemara, a person that is noida min ha'or, somebody that says, I forswear benefiting from any light. Ditnan, or not ditnan, that's in parentheses, one who forswears light completely, says, I'm not going to benefit from light at all, is also forbidden to use the light of the stars. The Rishonim discussed the fact, hold up a second, when it comes to swearing, so what difference does it make that there's a pasuk that tells us anything? We go b'lashonos b'nei adam. We care about what people say. Meaning, when you swear about something, the number one question is, what do you mean? What do most normal people mean when they talk about, I forswear using light? What does light mean in the context of many people, of the general majority of people? That is how we were paskin when it comes to nedarim, when it comes to taking a vow. So the Tosfos explains, but that's only if there is a dead giveaway, if we know exactly what people normatively speak about. But if we don't, so then the pasuk telling us what or means is going to be the decisive factor in exactly what this vow has prohibited a person from appreciating. Nevertheless, the pasuk is telling us that there is something called the light of the stars, and that is a functional light that a person could use. A person swears, I'm not going to be benefiting from any light. That means that they are not allowed to use the light of the stars either. There is something called the light of the stars. It's not a time period. It's talking about functionally light itself. And with that, we will conclude our first shir, Daf Beis Amud Aleph, in learning Masechet Pesachim. Wishing everybody a beautiful day. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bless you all like crazy with tremendous mazel, hatzlacha, bracha, and success in everything that you do. Enjoy the learning. Keep it up. And we'll see you tomorrow.